What's up, y'all? Happy Friday. Welcome to the Recruiting Scoop on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com. I'm Joe Cook. That's Justin Wells. If you were with us on Tuesday, we gave you the best possible scenario, best class scenario on offense in the 2027 cycle. We're going to follow it up with the defense today. But first, go to InsideTexas.com. You would know all about all of these predictions from Justin. If you were there, use that QR code. Use that first link in our description. Get 50% off Inside Texas. That'll get you access to everything Texas Longhorns we do, basketball, baseball. That'll get you access to On3 and all the great National Insider stuff that they produce, and also everything from the Rivals Network as well. So come join, use that QR code, 50% off, or use that first link in our description. Justin, you gave us a good solid 12, I believe, on Tuesday to talk about with the offensive class. Now it's time to talk a little bit about the defensive class. And as it turns out, best class scenario, and I think you'll be ready, quick to admit that some of these are very far-fetched, but this is the best class scenario. However, the first one is not all that far-fetched.
It's not.
And he could very well be the best player on this entire list.
Yes, like Kasai Curry, you know, four months ago, that was just a kid that Texas offered and they were interested in, and let's see how it plays out. Then he makes a wrong turn, winds up in Austin for a junior day, gets blown away by the coaches and the players, loves hanging out with former teammate Richard Wesley, who's turned into a pretty good little recruiter. And then he pops back in for practice, spring practice last week. And so the big thing with Curry, Texas is trending really nicely here. He understands that they put a lot into the to the defensive line, to the defensive side of the ball. They like to stock those big hog mollies on the D-line. And Kasai, he checks a lot of those boxes. But this is a national recruitment here. You got USC, you got Alabama, you got Ohio State, you got Oregon. It's going to be tough. But right now, if signing day was tomorrow, Kasai Curry would be in this class. Now, Marcus Fakatu is another one that I actually feel pretty good about where Texas is today. I don't think he's close to a commitment, and I don't think that he's close to announcing a leader of any sorts. But Fakatu it's similar to Curry in a sense that we didn't really know a lot about him. Hey, they wanted to offer him and build it out. He hits campus out of nowhere, loves Austin, loves the community, loves kind of the atmosphere. Texas sends half the staff to California to go see him. Right after Will Muschamp was hired. That really caught his attention. And this is also an NIL recruitment, and I think that's also notable in this day and age. And so what's funny is that in the best case scenario, these two guys would be your D-line guys, but guess what? It's not that far-fetched to be a best case. Actually, Texas is trending with one and looks pretty dang good with the other.
A lot of height in this class. Kasai Curry, he was at the first spring practice, so we were able to see him. I was able to stand right by him. 6'4", 315 is what Rival lists him as. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And Marcus Fakatu, I think he's 6'6", 6'7", I believe.
Yeah.
So he's tall. He's also a reclassification, correct?
Not to my knowledge. Okay. He is a transfer. He wasn't Orange Lutheran up until about 2 months ago. So he just arrived to Sierra Canyon. I may be wrong. We'll double check on that, Joe, to make sure, but not to my knowledge.
He may have been a 2028, but I can't remember. And, you know, when you were looking at this is your defensive line class. And the next one we'll talk about a little bit, KJ Green. But everybody in this defensive line class, out-of-state players, West Coast, East Coast, there are good in-state players. Obviously, they are currently pledged to other places in Jalen Brewster and Kadrian Redmond. But even so, and you've mentioned that they're still in it for Redmond.
They love Kadarius Redmond. Yes,
they're still talking with him. But obviously, Tech has a good pitch in the ways that Texas Tech does things. Be naive to think Texas doesn't do something similar. But the Longhorns, when you add in KJ Green, who just took a visit. Probably a player who's got a lot of room to grow frame-wise, 6'4", 215 listing.
Yeah.
You can tell there's a kind of like Richard Wesley about 2 years ago.
Almost exactly.
You can tell that there's going to be a lot of room for weight to be added. And this would be a big win. Like this is someone who profiles maybe maybe to the Lance Jackson-esque position.
That's kind of my vision here. I think he's an edge / D lineman in the Will Muschamp era, and I think Lance Jackson would be the analog for him.
I really the fact that
he
Texas
doesn't have the big bonedness of Lance. Lance is big boned, but KJ's got the twitch.
Right, and to have these three, especially after you did pretty good work landing, Zion Williams, Ian Gaffard in the portal to bolster that spot. You still have basically everybody that you brought in from the high school class with Sharma, Charles, everybody in their group. You only took, you may have 2 from last year's class with James Johnson and then whatever Richard Wesley or Jamarian Carlton turn into. So 3 sounds like the right number. And you know what? They're probably going to go to the portal again for defensive tackle. It just seems like what they do.
They always do.
Yeah. So
even when they don't need them, they do. That's what I dig about. That's why you want to be the D-line coach at Texas. Because even when your cupboard is stocked, Sark will stay. You see the lineman in the portal? Come here.
Yeah, you need a 340-pounder? All right, you got
it. Get him over here.
Let's go to the edge position. Texas already has a commitment from Cameron Hall, who since he has committed has seen some good bumps in the rankings. Someone who I think as a result other teams are going to talk to, but this is a player Texas did a really solid early evaluation on, and they've got him in the class. Then you got DJ Jacobs, David Jacobs, one of the top, I think he's a top 10 prospect, if not a top 5 prospect.
Yeah.
Committed to Ohio State, has been still in contact with Texas, but this is the best class scenario. It doesn't mean it's the most likely scenario. We're tracking to see if he'll, visit at all. But, when you're looking at the best class scenario, it includes DJ Jacobs.
Hey, they're still talking to him, but don't get it twisted. DJ Jacobs is going to sign with Ohio State and play with Ohio State unless someone else comes back with an NIL offer better. And I just don't see that happening this cycle. I don't think Texas goes to the mat with that one. Ohio State did a real good job on this recruitment in that NIL era. And yeah, Jacobs in Texas still talk. Alan Clark loves him. He was on campus late last year. They're going to still do the back and forth. But you know what's fun? It's almost like wide receiver where you got Easton Royal in the class already, so you kind of can be picky with your other couple spots. I'm starting to get that vibe with Cameron Hall. Like, this kid is going to be really good. Maybe we were a little behind on where this was, but Texas certainly was not. They pushed early and often, got him in the class. He's going to wind up being a top 80, top 70, top 80 overall kid. But Jacobs is my other edge. And I only put 2 here because I think it's interchangeable where we have 3 on the D-line. Well, like with KJ Green. He's either an edge or he's going to grow into a D lineman, which kind of, moves him inside. That's another one that's going to be tough to pull. Our Charlie Williams actually had a good post on him, I believe, yesterday. Had some really in-depth quotes from Mr. Green. And so, but yeah, this is our best case scenario. Listen, don't, how we talked about Texas, they'll overstock on D linemen sometime. They'll overpay at edge. They don't care. They will go big at edge if they have to. They've done it in 3 out of the last 4 cycles. This year, I think they can go Cam Hall and pick up somebody else really good and still have a solid class. But if it's DJ Jacobs, I'll dance in the street.
Before we keep going, talk about another Texas commit. Got to talk about Andre the Lawyer.
Texans know when you're injured, there's one name that gets results. Andre the Lawyer. Trust the team that has secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans win their injury cases. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, wrongful deaths. Don't let the insurance companies tell you what your claim is worth. Andre the Lawyer will fight for you. His principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait. Call 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. Contact info is in the description.
Get that back up on the screen in just a second. But first, let's go ahead and talk about Cade Haug. Cade Haug from Kingwood jumped in the class, basically jumped in as soon as his visit was done. And as soon as the Longhorns got him, setting the floor for the 2027 cycle at that position.
Boss Haug. Boss Haug is what I call him. Cade's a really cool guy. Like I like Cade. He's kind of no nonsense in a way. Like when he got offered from Texas, I think he tried to commit immediately, and it was almost like, go talk to your parents, call us back in 24 hours, then we'll take your commitment. Yeah, he's the guy. And you know what? That's a perfect floor setter because listen, I can find you 100 good linebackers in high school, but how many of them can play inside? Maybe 4 or 5. Like the inside linebacker is just a forgotten guy. It's so important, especially guys that can cover. That's why I think Anthony Hill and Leona Lafau are so valuable. So yeah, Boss Haug is your floor. I went with Cooper Witten. I went big game hunting, man. I wanted to put a Marlin on the wall, and I'm not convinced Jason Witten's going to be the football coach at Oklahoma at the end of this season. I think Coach Witten wanted to go get into the college spectrum. I think he wants to grow that out. He had some success at Argyle Christian as a head coach, and you know, I've had the privilege of talking to him a couple times, and he just sounds like an old school head football coach. But I think he's also going to be a climber, and so this OU commitment it's tricky. I don't think Texas was in it before he committed to Oklahoma. I think it was Texas A&M and Tennessee. But this is my best case scenario, and I would love to have Cooper Witten. If you want a realistic case scenario, think of Jeremiah Culpepper. That's a kid out of Georgia. I believe it's Troup County. That's the guy. He's not on the list, but I'm giving that to you as the fan so you can have something a little bit more realistic. Culpepper would be my guy if Cooper Witten doesn't happen to happen. And then you got Joakim Gouda, Mr. Cheese. Okay, listen. If Georgia wouldn't have gotten on this kid so stinking early, I think this would be Texas. But Kirby Smart, you know, he's not going to let all in-state peach guys go to Texas. He gets a few of them taken from him. He's not going to let all of them go. It just wouldn't look good. And Gouda probably melts pretty well with Glenn Schumann on this defense. That probably goes together. But I love him. I think he's a best case scenario. I think he's a 4-star, and I still think he's underrated. Gouda might be my Braden Rouse at linebacker for this cycle.
Looking at cornerback, I feel like this was pretty straightforward. The 3 choices you made, 2 from in-state, 1 from out of state, all probably you could make a good argument that these are the 3 best corners in the entire country in this cycle.
Joe, that's really a good assessment. Okay, 1 and 2 is John Meredith and Joshua Dobson. I can't separate them. They're both instant starters in college once they get there. They're both born to be on the island. Montre's the one that can outrun them all. And Montre's the one that's getting bigger. He's starting to fill out more. Our Charlie Williams went and saw him at a track meet a couple weeks ago. He said he's at least 6'6" now at a 10-300. And not just that, like, this is a really good kid. This is a guy that I think would be tremendous for the program. He's always loved Texas. His family's always kind of had a burnt orange tinge. And the beauty of it is, in a best case scenario, Montre Jackson's in your cycle. He's going to sign in your class. Meredith, I'm not closing the book on that. I'm really not, because I've seen enough crazy stuff in the NIL era to know nothing definitive needs to be said or uttered in March. So Texas is going to get an unofficial in spring at some point. They're going to get an official visit in June. Let them fight it out. You know, this is one of those ones that Texas and Sark just sort of sit back and they let the other teams sort of kill each other. And then they just sort of wait, and then they'll throw that NIL offer, boom, and then they pounce on you. Joshua Dobson, I don't see happening. I think it's going to take an act of God to get him to Austin. And so, but yeah, he would be the ideal guy for me if you know, you can't get him. So
we'll go ahead and end with safety. Greedy James from Manville, first 2027 commit, if I remember right. Or
yeah,
he was after the commit count went from 1 to 0. He brought it from 0 to 1.
From Tavian Epps to 0 to Greedy James. And listen, Greedy James is not necessarily a safety. This is kind of for exercise purposes. He can play safety, but I've watched enough camp stuff in the last 3 months. Greedy James can play corner if he has to. He might even be a really good nickel. Another safety I mentioned on here, there's South Oak Cliffs, Isaiah Udom. These aren't like big names. because Texas isn't really going big game hunting at safety outside of Honor Johnson, who was committed to USC last week. I got another name for you, Joshua Banks. He's out of Umballa, Tascasita. He's a move in from Cali. Head coach Kyle Coates over there is raving about him. They have double-digit college prospects there, and Banks might separate himself from the rest. There's something unique about him. He played corner. He can play safety. He might even be a nickel. I put all those guys kind of in the same category because Blake Gideon and Mark Orfe like those guys that are versatile, those guys that can play at different levels. And there is an old school rule. You're a corner until you're a safety. And so the truth is I think Greedy James could do that in a pinch, but I also think they're preparing for 2028. They already have a pretty good stock of safeties right now. 2028 has the number 2 safety in the country is in Lancaster, Texas. That's James Foster III. I think he's going to Texas, and I think he's going to be a 5-star. So I think they're going to go big in the next cycle when it comes to safety. Hey, that's not to say we don't see a late bloomer. Teray Davis, we weren't even talking about that joker until, the end of the summer? And then all of a sudden an offer, a visit, a commitment. And so these late senior rebounds could bring out new guys. But from the safety department and the DB department, there's a lot of interchangeable guys in there, and that's what makes this exercise kind of fun.
Recruiting is always fun to cover. Come talk about it with us over at Inside Texas. Use the first link in our description or use the QR code at the top left of the screen. Get 50% off annual subscriptions. That gets you the best of Inside Texas, the best of college football coverage and college basketball coverage from On3, the best recruiting coverage nationally from Rivals. So come check us out. Justin, thank you so much. Thank you for watching. See you next week. I may not see you next week, but we'll see you next week on Recruiting.
Oh, man, I got to host this joker next week, you son of a gun.
You, Charlie, and Connor, y'all can get it done. So thank y'all for watching. We'll see you next time on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com.